Hiya, it's time for another MD questions. The glorious Natasha from Clockwork Talent has asked me, how do you keep up to date with what's going on in the industry whilst running a company? And actually, I find this really quite straightforward and easy, and I don't need to devote too much time to it personally. And for me, it's Twitter. I absolutely adore and love Twitter for knowing what's happening before most of the time my team is aware, or, just really keeping your finger on the pulse. So when it comes to what is news, industry news, you've got two ways of looking at it. You've got who's breaking it and who's making it. And I make sure that I follow a good combination of that. So people who are breaking the news are... We've got people like Barry Schwartz, obviously, amazing service for the industry, constantly updating, constantly making sure that he's documenting what might be newsworthy. Obviously, we've got all of the official Google accounts as well. I think tool providers do a really good job of breaking news, or forming kind of official standpoints or reactions to when there is more formal news. The second and more interesting for me and for Erudite as an agency are the people that are making the news. And that's not so much the search engines. I'll clarify that. So what are the search engines talking about? Predominantly it's stuff like algorithm updates, and we don't really care about that much. We don't worry about algo updates. I think algorithm updates are only something you should or find yourself worried about if you're not doing great SEO, to be honest. I've been doing this for 20 years. Changes follow a really clear narrative arc and shouldn't be much of a surprise. We generally know what is coming, rough timing, and the content of each update, because it's pretty obvious as to what direction Google is going to be heading in, ultimately to deliver a higher quality kind of experience to end users. But at the same time, there is this SERP real estate space to bear in mind. What I mean by that is the changes to the way that results are surfaced, the changes to the dimensions of that, the changes to the ranking kind of determinations, the layout. So, moving away from a repetitive expected kind of SERP towards a really blended SERP that's full of different types of rich information. So who is making news? So for me, the more interesting stuff that matters to us as an industry are things like tools, and I mean those like independent, small people like Lily Ray or Orit Misnik, who are creating some really specific tools around. Might be keyword research, it might be trend discovery, it might be speed related tools. So there's loads and loads of people out there in the industry that are constantly developing and iterating on things that will make our jobs and our research process side of things a lot easier. So following people like that is a lot more interesting and useful for me and for the agency than the news breakers, if you like. So I find that I have probably about a couple of hundred people in my following list who I would put into either of those two breaker or maker buckets. And through that kind of seeding, if you like, you then start to discover who people like the examples I've given are talking to, and then you can broaden that out from there. I follow just over 1,000 people. I don't find it overwhelming. I get up normally, well, stupid o'clock in the morning, that doesn't matter, but I check Twitter first thing in the morning to see what my American friends are saying, because there might be something to be aware of that's broken from that side whilst we were sleeping. And then again, I will check again later on at about 8 in the morning before I start work at 9, and just make sure that I'm up to date with what's going on before switching to something else from 9 o'clock onwards. I'll check in again periodically throughout the day. I do have notifications on my desktop, so if someone is shouting at me, then I can jump in and see that. So yeah, it doesn't take much effort. It's a few minutes here and there, but I find that it means that I'm completely informed and aware of what's going on all the time, but also seeing new opportunities and shiny new tools to play with, which is the most fun. Okay, thanks for the question, Natasha. That was really interesting to actually think about what I'm doing and at what times of the day as well to stay informed. So bye bye.